Hello! Today I'm going to be planting some chili peppers. It's the beginning of February and the ideal time to plant peppers is January, February, very early March. I think sometimes if you go for March you're stretching it. The reason we need to plant them so early is they're one of the first veg that, or fruit I suppose strictly speaking, that need a really long growing season. So if we plant them too late, kind of April, May, they just won't have reached their full size by the time it's ready to harvest and the temperatures start coming down again. So you're likely to lose them. So if you can start them off early, then you've got a much greater chance of having a good crop of chili peppers or bell peppers, sweet peppers, going forward. I am using a heated propagator. The ideal germination temperature for peppers is 20 degrees. Now I have a separate video there which I'll leave in the link about propagators, but if you've got a table where you can set the temperature, 20 degrees is really where you're wanting it at, or on a propagating tray like I have here, it doesn't have a thermostat, an adjustable thermostat, so I just have to go with what it gives me. If you haven't got propagators, you could use one of these, food tray, but just pop it somewhere inside warm and bright. And again, I mentioned that in the video on propagators. So how do we do peppers? I'm going to show you here. The great thing about these little tray, this propagator, is it comes in these individual trays. So I might have peppers in one, tomatoes in another, or different varieties of different things in each one. I'm using a seed compost, and this seed compost, it's an organic compost, it's peat free, and the reason I'm using seed compost is because it doesn't have the nutrients in it that a multi-purpose compost has. Seeds have everything they need in them to germinate, really. They don't need those extra nutrients that a multi-purpose would give you. Now, that said, I have used multi-purpose compost when I haven't had anything else, and it works just fine, but you can find seedlings tend to get very leggy. They get long stems, tiny little leaves on the top, and then they're kind of falling all over the place looking for light. If you get seed compost, that mightn't happen as readily because they're not getting that burst of growth through the nutrients. Once the plants have germinated and you're potting them on into another pot, then you need the multi-purpose compost with those nutrients. So here we go. I have filled this tray up to, you can see it's almost the top actually. I'm going to take a small bit out. I'll just pop it in that tray there. I'm tapping it down. Seeds need three things to germinate. They need oxygen or air, they need heat, and they need water. And if they're missing any of those three elements, they're not going to germinate for you. So when I put the compost in, you can see it's a nice fine compost. I pop it in there. I'm going to use another tray here just to tamp it down a little bit, make sure there's no big air pockets within. And now I'm going to water it. So my water is at room temperature. I have a visitor. And I'm just going to cover it over. The reason I like to do the watering before I plant the seeds is because if you plant afterwards, as you add the water, either the compost can overflow over the seed tray, or the seeds will sometimes pop out as well. So I like to do it now. And then I'm going to sow my seeds. We like chilies here. We eat quite a lot of chilies, and we often freeze them as well, so never have too many. This one here is Elephantine Russell chili pepper from Irish Seed Savers. And the great thing about buying seeds from, say, brown envelope seeds or Irish Seed Savers is you get lovely choices and tried and tested varieties. So I'm just going to pop a few in there. I'm just going to put 3 in this one today. I have got another tray that I started off a few days ago. which I'm showing you there. It takes about, it can take up to 2 weeks for these seeds to germinate. So they're in the top here, I think you can see them. And now I'm going to just cover them over with a fine layer of compost on top. Now, the smaller the seed, the more light it needs to germinate. So these are quite small. You don't need to bury them too deeply in the compost. So fairly high up. I tend not to use vermiculite and perlite, although they are both produced from rock, I suppose, volcanic rock, or certainly in the case of one of them, volcanic rock. The processes that's used to extract them wouldn't be advised under organic methods, so I avoid those. So I usually just top up with a layer of compost on top, and then I'm going to put it on my heated tray. I'm going to pop the lid on, close it over, and put it on the heat. Before I do that, I have a label, actually one of the most important things, and I'm going to write on my label the type of seed I have just planted, Elephant and Russell chili, and the date I planted it on the other side, and I'll pop that in with there so I don't get a muddle. If you haven't got labels, you might want to start collecting them or getting some prepared, because when you pot these on into bigger pots, you'll need a label for each pot. Something I've learned over the years in error, and in fact even last year I had all my tomatoes muddled up because I muddled up the labels. That's it, that stays there. Once the seedling opens up or pops out of the soil, then I'll open the lid of this, and then once the seedling is a bit bigger, has its true leaves and its seed leaves, I'll look at potting it on into something bigger, putting it onto my heated bench. This is now going to come back in the house with me. At the moment it's still very, very cold out here, but yeah, that's it for the moment. Thank you for watching.